Hi, good morning, and welcome to Ask Dawn and Donna. Today we're going to talk about how to get more fun in your life, like where's the fun go? And that includes sex. So sex is a whole thing to unpack. I think we're going to take a few steps because sex is just like your relationship with sex, how the belief system around sex, and then also in a relationship, what kind of relationship, if it's used for power. So there's multi-layers.
Or on your own.
Or on your own. Yes. Hopefully that's not a power struggle, but that's a whole other discussion, I think, too. And then but we're going to keep going back to that. Sex is the life force energy. And as we said before, energy is everything. And how we're created and what needs to happen to get that life force is through sex. So kind of just talking about many facets of it, but I'll turn it over to Dawn and she could just start the discussion. But it's kind of the framework of what we're talking about, fun and sex. And
yes, the 60s had it kind of right, I think. The all love model. I think people were happier and healthier, and these virus things. I volunteer at the Dr. Peter Center here in Vancouver, which is an international HIV center. And people are now completely undetectable. And so the transition rate even of HIV is minimized. And we're making really great strides. And I want to talk about Betty Dobson. Okay. Betty Dobson has this YouTube channel with Carlin Ross, and she is now, I believe, 92 and just very healthy, happy, because she's an internationally known sex therapist. And she has always made sex a part of her life. And she is so vibrant and so awesome. And now Carlin Ross, Carlin with a C, now runs the YouTube channel and teaches the Bodysex program made by Betty Dobson that actually helps women discover their sexual freedom. So we'll add that link to the synopsis at the bottom of the screen later.
Yes, that's not our expertise, but at least you can find the resource. I'm not a sex therapist.
No.
But if you have freedom.
I like to think I am.
The one thing we do, well, maybe you are, Dawn.
Just another thing you don't know about me.
Yeah, there's so many.
TMI.
It's just so many layers. But the one thing we do, like I have worked with a few clients about, is their belief system around sex. Because I think there's a physical aspect, and then there's a lot of stuff, societal, religious, just personal experiences, maybe some traumas, some things that have happened, whether it was a violent trauma or just a manipulation of trauma that carries that sex energy, because sex energy is very powerful. And I think like anything that people feel is a power, then they try to control it or people with it. So I think with the work we both do with the soul awakening method, that is a great way to release some beliefs and blocks that you don't even know you had around it. Even if you're not, like maybe you're comfortable or not so much, you want more freedom. But the full technique and the whole issue with sex and how to really get freedom, that's a great resource for that. Dawn just mentioned.
And one of the lessons I think of this very challenging time is that we do not have control. And I think the universe is speaking that loud and clear. And I actually attended a women's circle last night that was just amazing. Mm-hmm. And there's actually this trauma healer, relationship counselor I met named Sophia. And her website is Goddess Touch. I actually had a soul awakening session with a client yesterday who is rockily reunited with her husband that they were separated for quite some time. And COVID and all of them with the kids in one house and all the things. And,
Oh, wow.
and I was like, okay. So I passed Sophia's name on to her. And again, Soul Awakening, I got some really big, good, juicy messages for her that, like, because I know they're supposed to be together, that they are a divine union. Yeah.
And that's the cool thing with relationships and sex and all of this as being humans, is that we can all change. It takes work and dedication and a desire, and it's not magical, but there's growth in all these relationships. And to find a healthy relationship with that both includes sex and love and respect and all of the things that a relationship has, but to honor sex in a way to make it not just primal and feel good and pleasure, but it's also a very spiritual act. There's so much intimacy that can happen if both partners look at that surrender as also a spiritual divine union, as well as a physical, primal thing. Because sex is very natural, and to embrace it as a human, I think our society would be just a lot better as far as
better,
healthy,
a lot happier, a lot healthier. Yeah, there's a big message in there. And orgasms equal health and happiness. They really do. Yeah.
Because there's a whole Willem it's Reich is he developed his whole psychological theory about the orgasm, and that it's called, I forget what the book, I'll add the link, but it's pretty thick. We learned about it. You learn about it in therapy school, typically.
Cool.
And it's the release of energy, because it is that divine block and release. And then the French call it the petit de mort, I think, is like the moment of death, like a small death, because in the orgasm state, that is where you're actually surrendered. So if you're conscious and do it, then you could surrender to source. If you're just normal people, not conscious, just enjoying the sex part of it, there's still the surrender. But once there's that awareness and consciousness to it, then it releases a lot of blocks in your whole body grid that might have been dammed up. And it is a very powerful,
and again,
sex is very powerful.
The message being, as we do energy work of all kinds, that includes sex, that is so healing to the soul and is going to give us health and happiness and freedom moving forward.
Definitely. But I do want to add, it's with consciousness.
Yes.
It's not just go out and have all sorts of sex, or have all sorts of sex, but to find your healthy boundaries with it.
I agree.
To see like where you are on the spectrum. There's a lot of introspection work, and a lot of people like all topics like taxes, death, money, sex are all topics that people are like, oh, it's too, politics, the whole thing, it's too much. But to really figure out whatever form you're comfortable in, and figuring out how you are with sex, your relationship with sex first, and then helping define what you need and how it could make your life healthy. Because you can, like anything, sex is also part of the addiction. If you have, it could become that too.
Yes.
So,
and I totally believe in the right of people being asexual. And Spirit wants me to speak to the trolls out there that might have negative comments for us. That
about sex, we're gonna get
should not.
comments.
I know. Well, you would think, right? This is my whole point. That don't post anything that you're not willing to discuss here on air with us.
Oh yeah, that's a nice invitation.
I'm taking the lead from my healer friend Charlie Goldsmith from Australia. And so if you're going to post negativity, I'm going to share it. And if you're offended by love, we can actually help you with that.
Aw, that's a nice invitation. Because everyone, I think you might have written about it or had, I don't know. But It's true. Everyone's really, what everyone wants is to be accepted and loved. And
Yeah.
most of the
It's the
acting
primal
out and
thing.
the hurt and the pain, and we're on this planet to connect with people.
Yes,
And
we are.
the part of the connection is feeling love and loved and accepted accept yourself and accepted by others. And that kind of goes hand in hand. And once you're not on any level, then however your karma plays out, that's might how you act out. Some people might shut down, other people might act out and be aggressive or be, turn it into bitterness and hate. So, but when it comes down to it, everyone on the planet deserves love.
Well, and it heals everything.
Mm-hmm. It does.
And it really is what every soul needs to heal, is love.
Mm-hmm. And that's fun too. And that could be fun to see what things that maybe mundane things that you don't like, or is a chore or something that's not, glamorous. How can you put it with love or devotion? How can you add that? Like making your tea in the morning, or doing something for a friend,
doing the dishes, and
and adding some of that love energy with it, other than, because we all could pick what energy we want underneath it. Like, it could be disdain if you don't want to do something, and you're still going to do it, but if you do it with like disdain or grumpiness, so that energy goes into that. You can also just change and be like, oh, even if you don't love it now, add some love and joy and find a way to filter love into all your activities of the day. And that kind of penetrates and ripples out over and over. And I want to say sex and love, I feel they're two different things. So you can be in like,
I agree.
I think they get entangled of like, oh, he wants me, she wants me, sex, being sexy, I'm desirable, I'm accepted. And that is a whole different thing. Like a healthy
That's a
sexual
whole other video for sure.
And having a healthy sexual
I think
life,
we might be talking about that in the next video, about the divine masculine and feminine. So join us for that.
And have that, but really finding how to have fun with sex. I think that is one of the main things you wanted to talk about today. Like, what
health
that
and
is.
Happiness and wellness. Yeah.
And the link to the program will be below in the comments. And is there anything else you want to say about sex and fun and finding some joy in this moment with our primal instincts?
Well, I harp on this one. We all have a choice. We have a choice every minute of every day to choose love over fear. And, I'm witnessing things in my colorful neighborhood all the time. I saw this guy yell at a man just minding his own business and said, like, what the bleep are you looking at? And it was like, okay, wow. And so, it's all the things. It's all the things. It's the judgment of are you wearing the mask? Are you far enough away from me? Is it safe? And it's like, and you can look people, well, the ones that look you in the eye that aren't wearing their masks are healthier and happier. And we have to ask if we're making the right choice and if we put our happiness and health first. And so I honor those that need to wear them. Absolutely. I honor that. But then there's no judgment beyond that either. I love and see them equally, and I don't approach it with judgment.
And that's really the thing, is like each person has to find out what their comfort level is and what makes them happy and feel safe and supported. And it's also respectful for others as well. So just because if I choose one thing and you choose the other thing, that doesn't mean that you deserve like hate and judgment and all of that, especially with the change now. You talked about the 60s and the love. The 60s also were at the same sort of time. There was a lot of strife, political strife. Racism was finally,
well, this is our
you know,
World War III, and we get to choose what it looks like on the other side.
yeah, and there's a lot of things going back cyclically to see kind of where we've been and how to make love and cross racial lines and sexual lines and everything that was deemed, you know, bad or against or shunned.
The other, the
Mm-hmm.
others.
The other.
Yeah.
And really just find a way to be in a world where we can all relate to each other and no one is higher than the other. No one has to be the same, but we can all be equal. So I think that is part in finding your joy and your the fun of life, even after these 3 months of being in quarantine, and adding just the sexual part of it. Like, have you been alone for the last 3 months? Are you dating? Are you in a relationship, but then still there's been fighting and there's no sex? So kind of where on that spectrum with yourself and sex and joy, and see kind of how they all kind of fit into the puzzle together.
Right.
So we're going to be talking a little bit more about relationships, kind of on the, you know, the other woman and all kinds of that kind of sticky relationship and how that is in sex in that way that maybe is not the most positive. And then we just want to remind you if you have any questions, or like Dawn made a nice invitation a few minutes ago, if there is something that you don't agree with or would like to say, we definitely like to hear that, and invite you to be a part of the discussion, is not just judgment, because nothing that we say and nothing in life is straight line. Like everyone, there's always factors. You know, there's always this perspective. There's hundreds of thousands of perspectives out there. And usually there's a common ground in there. And to find that with each other and not just lash out and shame and spew things because you're angry and this feels easier to do or you don't agree. Like, have a discussion.
I love your grace, my friend. How you can just I'm like, let's talk about sex. And this is why this relationship is divine.
It's all part of it. It's all part of it.
It sure is. It sure is.
So if you have any questions for us, you can email it at askdonanddonna@gmail.com. You can leave comments below, and join us on our next video where we talk a little bit more about that, the other woman or other man, I guess if the case may be, and either way, right. The other, because, you know, it's not just one way. Sometimes it's the other. And is there any last words before we end the video, Dawn? Okay. Well, I hope everyone finds a way to love and find love in their life and express it through the mundane to calling and or even telling your spouse or partner that you love them, and do some behaviors behind that so they not only hear it, but they experience it from you. I think that's key. So
let's have more fun, please.
More fun.
I ordered up more fun. Let's ask Source for more fun, please.
Summer starts in a few days from the time of this video, so it's summer fun.
Summer fun. I love it.
Summer of lovin'. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, and leave us a comment if you have any questions or concerns.